coral algae is also what gives coral its bright color. Now there's a little bit of a difference between the coral that I'm talking about and what you see inside of this tank here. The coral in this tank actually isn't real, but we're hoping that most of you guys thought it was. We kind of modeled it that way. So the coral inside this tank is made of fiberglass, and it's been modeled using skeletons from dead coral. We took skeletons and we made molds out of those skeletons. We poured that fiberglass into the molds. We incorporated a little bit of fish-safe paint to give it some color. And what we ended up with were over 200 individual pieces of coral that you see inside this tank. But structurally they look exactly like the different species of coral that they're trying to represent. And they also do a lot of the same things for the animals that live on a reef. So what kind of services do coral reefs provide for these animals? Well, for one, they provide a place to find food. So they attract smaller animals, which some of the bigger animals can eat. There are also places where vegetation like algae or seagrass can grow nearby, and there are certain fish and other animals that like to eat those things around coral reefs. And there are even some animals that actually like to eat coral, or will at least take a bite out of coral. There's an animal called a parrotfish. There's a couple different kinds of parrotfish inside of this tank here. They get their name because they have teeth that are formed together like a beak, just like a parrot's beak. And they will actually take a bite off of a piece of hard coral, and they'll grind that coral up, and they'll extract all the algae and nutrients that they can get from it. And then they'll poop that coral out as fine sand. And so in a way they're kind of like earthworms on a reef. They sort of recycle some of the nutrients, some of the minerals that you see on a reef and make them available for other things. And so all these animals have sort of their own unique relationship with coral, but then there are other things too that coral provides. So it provides a place to live for all these animals. Some of these fish prefer to seek shelter inside of the reef and hide in little cracks and crevices. And then in addition to that, some of these animals will actually find a mate and reproduce on a reef. And that's something that does actually happen inside of this tank here. We do have some animals that reproduce and lay their eggs inside of this tank. Very often there are some small species of fish called damselfish that will lay their eggs in these nests along hard surfaces inside of the tank. And once the female lays those eggs, the male will actually hang around and protect those eggs until they hatch. Will defend that little nest and keep anything bigger away, and will even take a nip out of a diver if it gets too close to that nest. So it's a very important place for all these animals. Now you guys can obviously see something going on here inside of our exhibit. We've got this big orange barrel that's being transported, and Evie's about to scoop out a fish from inside of this barrel. It's a grunt, a smallmouth grunt that was inside of this barrel. What do we use these barrels for? So occasionally there'll be fish inside of this tank that we think might get sick or might have something wrong with them, or they might be exhibiting some funny behavior. Before we take them out of the tank completely to give them an exam, we might isolate them inside one of those buckets and give them time to sort of rest and relax in a less stressful environment, see if they can improve their health, see if their symptoms go away. But also if we need to give that animal any medicine, if we need to give that fish some medication, we can find that fish right inside that barrel. We don't have to dive into the tank and chase that fish around to find it. So that's what's happening right now. There was a smallmouth grunt inside that barrel that was just removed. We're going to take that fish behind the scenes and give it a quick medical evaluation. We actually have a full animal medical department right up on our 4th floor, sort of behind the wall over here. And inside that medical department, we can do things such as do surgery on fish. We have this really cool table where you can lay a fish down and keep water flowing over its gills, but you can also give it some medication to sort of calm it down and anesthetize it a little bit, and you can even do surgery on it. So we're well prepared to take care of all these animals. If I find out what was wrong with that fish while I'm talking to you guys, I'll let you know too.
How you doing there, buddy?
So, we talked a little bit about why coral reefs are so important for all these animals, but believe it or not, coral reefs are actually pretty important for us, for humans as well. So, coral reefs are habitats that aren't found outside in Boston Harbor. Coral reefs are found closer to the equator in much more tropical, warmer waters. They prefer very sunny, well-lit conditions, very clear water and also pretty warm temperatures. Temperatures up over 65, 70 degrees.
No, you wait.
Now, in conditions like that, in places
All
like
right,
that,
get down between
there are a lot of people that live very close to coral reefs,
Go down.
and
Squat down.
we talked about how coral reefs can attract a lot of different animals, a lot of small animals, and then also bigger animals as well, bigger fish. So coral reefs can actually provide a source of seafood for people that live near reefs. There are certainly lots of island nations that one of their primary foods is subsisting on the fish that they can catch living on coral reefs. These reefs can also do other things as well. They are really good at absorbing energy. And so if you live near a coral reef and there's a storm coming through, like a typhoon or a hurricane, those storms usually produce pretty big waves, and coral reefs are great at absorbing that wave energy, absorbing those waves so they don't make it all the way to the shoreline and destroy any property. In addition to that, researchers every day are starting to find more and more potential cures for human diseases and things like cancer on coral reefs. Finding chemicals that a certain animal may have in their body or may produce. And some of those chemicals are starting to turn out and have properties that may actually be able to help us to cure things like cancer. So these are very, very valuable habitats for us. They're also very important as a source of tourism dollars for a lot of people. A lot of people like to go diving, scuba diving on reefs, on very pristine, healthy reefs. And that's a way for countries to make some money to support their economy. So these are very important habitats for humans as well.